You tweeted out Donald Trump's statement, which is, as one can imagine, is just
speaks for itself. I didn't have to put a comment in there. I just post the comment.
He said, I don't even think that he's that political, referencing J. Powell.
Yep.
I think he hates me, but that's okay. He should. I call him every name in the book, trying to get him to do something. I've been nice to him. I do it always. I know how to sell. I've been so nice to him. Fellas, you wouldn't believe. Let's have dinner. Too late. I'd call him too late. Come on, too late. Let's have dinner. I do it every way in the book. I'm nasty. I'm nice. He's
Make
just like a
volatility great again. That was the most volatile commentary I've ever heard in my life. No matter what you think of him, he's volatile.
Yeah, he thinks that, I don't know what to think of whenever Trump says stupid garbage like this, but he's now saying, hey, maybe I should be in charge of the Fed. Maybe I should be the one calling the shots.
Yeah, do you think he should appoint himself? He said maybe he'll appoint himself. I think maybe he's looking into the legality of that.
The reality is that Richard Nixon appointed Arthur Burns, who was his long friend. The conversation turning to Bessent potentially being the Fed chair makes a ton of sense. It is, quote unquote, an independent entity. So once they are appointed, Trump loses control of that other entity. And so he wants more than anything. The reason him saying psychologically, like, maybe I should appoint myself, is he knows he needs to find the person he can most trust. He doesn't feel like he can really trust anybody in this situation to do this most important thing, which is control the Federal Reserve. It's got to be somebody who's going to do my bidding.
When Powell's time is up, who do you think he's going to go for? Weren't there rumblings that it was going to be Scott Bessent?
Yeah, I think it is going to be Bessent.
That's what Cem just said.
Yeah. And that's why, because it's the one person he's gotten comfortable enough with that he feels like he can trust. I wouldn't shock me if like his, if it's one of his sons or like somebody like. My point is that he wants to find somebody that he can know absolutely when push comes to shove that they are going to do his bidding.
And Eric Trump, head of the Fed, is a fun image for me.
I believe you're still asserting that we're within the Summer of George right now. Can you just explain what the Summer of George is for people?
Summers, partially due to holidays, is the second most holiday period on the calendar. The holidays here are Memorial Day, Juneteenth now, 4th of July, right? You have this very concentrated period, and it's the summer. So it's not just the days that are off, it is the days around those days. People go to the Hamptons, people go to the beach, they go in Europe, it's a 3-month holiday, right? And that decreases volume, and that creates a situation where the structural flows, which don't diminish with this, are bigger relative to the liquidity and become more important. It's also a period where vol compression, if it starts to take hold, can overwhelm everything else. And we have seen a period of vol compression into this rally that we've seen. So if you get a rally into the summer and vol's compressing, it's really hard to break that vol compression. When you have vol compression, particularly in periods where there's big skew positioning, which there's record positioning now, that creates very positive equity index flows. And they're not every day, but they are particularly strong as we enter big expirations with big open interest, like the June OpEx. And so you have this loop where vol is compressed. Because of vol compression, as long as the market doesn't move, you have a buyback of stock that happens, which compresses downside even more and the risk of a tail even more. And then what happens is every day that goes forward, the market makers and dealers on the street also decay longer vol. And they're already long vol. So they're long vol, getting longer vol, there's supportive flows coming out of it, and you just get into this loop. And remember, vol by definition has a risk premium and is a loser more times than it is a winner. So if you have structural effects like this, vol becomes a hot potato. No market maker, no dealer wants to hold any of the vol. And so it just goes lower and lower and lower and lower. And so this generally happens throughout the summer. And eventually, and this is not always, right? There's not every summer is going to be a summer of George. I'll be clear. But once you enter into these periods where there's nothing going on and just want to go to the beach and read a book from beginning to end, in that order, as George says, it's reflexive. And it doesn't tend to come to an end until about August. And sometime between August and September, by Labor Day, it will turn.
Cem, what the hell, man? You tweeted on June 1st about martial law plans being drawn up in the Oval Office, and you scared the
that
crap
took a
out
few
of
people by
Emil
surprise,
here.
right? Like people were like, "Who that? Like, is your?" I got the number of "is your account hacked?" questions.
You
were-
scared a lot of people.
Yeah, you scared us, dude.
A lot
You
of
beat his pants.
I consider you a pretty reasonable guy. A lot of people tweet a lot of things like, "Oh, I'm hearing all kinds of stuff," but I was like, "Oh my god!" I think we were together when it happened in Denver, and we were like, "What the hell?" And then I got home and I showed my girlfriend, and now she's scared.
Heard from a little birdie that the rough outline of plans for a manufactured crisis that would necessitate martial law are already being drawn in the Oval Office in 3 years or so. If this comes to pass, know that this was not a coincidence.
Yeah, I can't speak to the little birdie. That's something I can't do. But what I can tell you is that I would not tweet that if I did not have a reliable source.
Wow.
And I will also tell you that since I've tweeted that, we have had a lot of riots that are being suppressed.
A lot of trial runs, maybe.
And we now have Israel and Iran and the U.S. going to a war in the Middle East. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, guys, but when we live in a world where people very much know, by the way, read Donald Trump's own tweets.
Yeah.
Years ago, he was very clear that if Obama goes into Iran, you'll know why, because he's looking to get reelected. Those are his words, not mine.
I wonder what you're thinking with this big triple witching OpEx and what's to come. What do you think, man? What's going on, Cem? Please.
We feel strongly that that is broadly what we're looking at. It will be a slow motion train wreck. We do think the range for the year is set, meaning we don't think we'll get below the lows, which, by the way, are now close to 20% below here, which is pretty wild to think just a couple months ago. I don't think we're returning there. I don't think we're returning there quickly. Would it? My base case, and we'll see, is in the next 6 months we return to those lows. And we do it in a kind of slow market down, ball down drip. And there will be a lot of realized volatility, an increasing amount of realized volatility as we move forward. Doesn't mean that realized volatility is going to happen now. But we do think that increasingly as you move forward, the vehicles to take advantage of these moves are going to be Zero-DTE type options, right? Which are just pure gamma, pure convexity. We do think there'll be a lot of macro headlines and big kind of disjointed moves, but I think it's going to look more like a stair step, and that'll be reiterated, reemphasized by implied vol compression, which will continue to be persistent.